that he should end it, we'll be waiting a long time. And in my opinion, the young generation of whites, blacks, browns, whatever else there is, you're living at a time of extremism, a time of revolution, a time when there's got to be a change. People in power have misused it, and now there has to be a change, and a better world has to be built, and the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods. And I, for one, will join in with anyone, don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth. Thank you.
Now, welcome to the Gilchrist experience. Now, you have to realize that in that Malcolm piece, now he died, this is December of '64, and he died in February of '65. So this is 2 months before his death. And that always had a profound effect on me every time I watched this piece, because of the fact that here was a man that the white man was a devil. And in his later years, he blossomed, and he saw people as people. As he says in this piece, I don't care what color you are, as long as you fight for justice and what's right.
I think his...
All right? Welcome to the show, Owen Rogers.
His speech at Oxford, I think, also was a recognition of the depth of his intellect, that he was brought there not as an entertainer, not as a radical politician, but he was brought there in order to, I think, challenge some of the white intellectuals who did not see him heretofore as their equal. And his speech before the Oxford Union and his writings, I think at that point, people began to realize that he was a powerful intellect that had grown through basically what was going on in the late 50s and the 60s, and perhaps he was a person who should be listened to, whose writing should be read beyond the black political genre, beyond just the Muslim or those who were interested in Afrocentric thought. And he proved that he was more than the equal to those who would debate him at the Oxford Union. That was a significant point for him and for a lot of us in the 60s, that the recognition of black intellectualism is something that, in fact, had come of age.
All right. Clemson is coming on the set, but I just wanted to go update us today to the radicals that are running around today. And I'd like to run the piece about this kid out in California that assassinated, I don't know any other way to, well, let's get a good depth of, we leave Malcolm in the 60s. I want to update us to the madness that's going on today. And why this young kid, 22 years old, obviously of means, he's sitting in a BMW and has a problem getting women. I mean, he's a good-looking kid, 22 years old, intelligent. And watch, he's full of himself, but perhaps that's one of the problems. But let me give you an idea of what this, we'll update the madness of today. So run that piece, and we'll see about 3.5 minutes of it, and then we'll come back to you. All right? Thank you.
Hey, Elliot Roger here. I'm just sitting in my car right now after watching that beautiful sunset descend beyond that hill up there. Enjoying a nice vanilla latte. Oh yeah, that's nice. Makes me feel all pumped up. I've been doing a lot of thinking about how sad and unfair my life has been, all because girls haven't been attracted to me. I've been going through college for 2.5 years now, and in those 2.5 years, I've had to rot in bleak and sad, while other guys get to enjoy all the pleasures of sex and socializing and partying. I've never had a taste of that because no girls give me a chance. No girl at my college has ever expressed any interest in me. I mean, you give a chance to all these stupid, obnoxious guys that I see you walking with, but you don't give a chance to me. Why not? I'm such a magnificent guy. I'm beautiful. You can't deny that. I've traveled all over the world. I have so much to talk about. I'm civilized, intelligent, sophisticated. I have a sense of style. And yet you girls don't see it. And every single day, I have to be insulted by the sight of all these lesser men walking around with beautiful girls. I see so many couples where the guy is just so unworthy of having a beautiful girlfriend like that, and yet they're together. He has her love, and I've never had any of that love and affection from girls. Why do you girls give those guys a chance, but not me? I deserve it more. It's not fair. Every single day I have to be insulted by the sight of guys enjoying girls while I'm all alone. Even watching that sunset up there is a bittersweet experience, because while I love the peaceful beauty of it, I can't help but think of all the other guys who get to enjoy that same sunset with a beautiful girlfriend at their side, while I'm sitting here all alone in my car. There's no beautiful girl in that passenger seat.
As you see, I just gave everybody a good taste. I mean, that's what I'm saying to anybody listening to it. Why did I put him on? Because this is a 22-year-old young man in California of means. He's sitting in a BMW, mind you. 22 years old, good-looking kid, full of himself. But you mean to tell me, over the last 8 years, with a BMW, you can't get a girl? Then something's wrong with him, obviously.
Definitely.
But how many other nuts out there looking like this? Now the cops came to his house after seeing the minute piece that I didn't play. But I just want to give you guys a good idea of what this kid is about. Of course, we can race him as a nut. But he calmly sat there and told us his problem. Now, his father should gotten hold of him and smacked him or something. Why does he take it out? And he calls himself civilized, intelligent, sophisticated. And what did he do? He goes on a rampage and kills people? How many other kids out there like that?
Well,
how many others are there out there like that?
Instead of talking to a camera, he should have been talking to a psychiatrist. And the family not recognizing that, apparently that's one of the things that we have to deal with. Families recognizing when their children are in serious need of psychiatric counseling.
But could you tell, I mean?
That kind of an ego on screen tells me there's something wrong with him, because that was presumably put on screen not long before he died. And somebody who spends that much time boasting about themselves, puffing themselves up, it seems to me that that's aberrant. But that's what other people in his world apparently didn't know how to deal with.
Go out and kill somebody.
True.
And he seems in love with himself.
Definitely in love with himself.
How could he kill himself? He's that much in love with himself.
Yeah.
Well, we live in a sick society.
Obviously.
Very sick society. I'm tired of seeing this guy. I've been seeing this guy every day for the last 5-6 days. They've been putting something on about him. His mental problem or whatever it is, and everybody seems to have a mental issue. The guy from the Clippers, They're trying to say that he had dementia. That's why he's saying the things
Oh,
that
the
he
racist
said.
owner of the basketball
Right.
team.
So
He
you
didn't
know,
kill anybody.
no, he didn't. But it is the same thing when a lot of people like this exhibit aberrant behavior. They have to have a mental problem to excuse the condition, to excuse the actions. All right. This is a guy. He has his car. You're supposed to get chicks with the car. That's advertising. That's what they teach these young fellas. You get a good car, you get a hot car, you get a hot babe. That's how they model the cars. Not true. Because evidently the guy has no character. He has money, he's traveled, but he has no character. And a woman wants a guy, evidently these young girls, they want a guy with character, not just a car. So he has been misled to believe. Wait a minute.
Unless it's changed drastically. I mean, you can always get a girl if you got a car.
There are
You get a
superficial people,
prostitute. You get a
which he could
prostitute.
well
Okay,
afford.
all right.
All right? But I don't know what the boy's problem is. The problem is that he didn't kill himself before he started shooting somebody else.
That's my
All right?
question.
That's
That's
the
the
problem
question.
with this guy.
But he's so sophisticated and so intelligent, and yet he shoots up and kills how many people?
Who said he's sophisticated?
He
Who
did.
said he's
He said
intelligent?
He
so.
did.
He said
Okay,
He
so
says
that's
it.
self-praise is of
He
no
called
value.
himself civilized.
Self-praise is of no
He called
value.
himself civilized.
Do we need to give more attention to
This guy he's a
to,
waste.
to him as opposed to what we see as the need and the hunger in our community for identifying men and women of vision, for identifying those who would lift us up, like the late Maya Angelou? We need to give credence and attention to those who do right and take us forward. I don't know how much time we should spend focusing on what's on the bottom of our shoe. You know, we should pay attention to the good stuff that takes us forward. That's my hunger, my need,
Right.
and that's what I see as critical. I don't know how much time we should give to
Wait,
other
you
folks.
see what I'm coming to. You know, I was going to get to that.
Well, the contrast is that, but that's my
see,
gut
I'll
reaction.
go to Clemson and bring up the Kabbalion, and since everything is mental in the Kabbalion, that the entire universe is mental. This guy in his world had a mental problem. But Maya Angelou's world, she had a problem of love. Love cures all. All right? So we'll start talking about Maya Angelou. And let me run this piece on Maya Angelou, because this is the healing portion. here.
Amen, amen.
So we show you the madness, and Maya Angelou died at 86.
Today.
Writer, author. I mean, here's a tough time to be black. 86 and beyond. I mean, this my senior by 12 years, 12, 13 years. Both myself and Clemson. You come up in the 30s, black. You had a really hard time.
And she knew hard
You
times.
really had a hard time.
She didn't have it easy.
Maya Angelou was Reverend Sharpton said today that when she walked in a room, you could feel her presence. You could feel her regal stature after going through what she had gone through in life. And let me just play this piece on her, and then we'll all feel the love energy, because she was well guided by her mother, which we all cherish. So we go from hate to love, which is the essence.
Oh, I am grateful to have been loved and to be loved now and to be able to love, because that liberates. Love liberates. It doesn't just hold. That's ego. Love liberates. When my son was born, I was 17. My mother had a huge house, 14-room house. At 17, I went to her and said, I'm leaving. She asked me, you're leaving my house? And she had live-in help. I said, yes. I found a job, and I've got a room with cooking privileges down the hall, and the landlady will be the babysitter. She asked me, you're leaving my house? I said, yes, ma'am. And you're taking the baby? I said, yes. She said, all right, remember this. When you step over my door sill, you've been raised. You know the difference between right and wrong. Do right. Don't let anybody raise you and make you change. And remember this, you can always come home. I went home every time life slammed me down and made me call it uncle. I went home with my baby. My mother never once acted as I told you so. She said, oh, baby's home. Oh, my darling, Mama's gonna cook you something. Mother's gonna make this for you. Love. She liberated me to life. She continued to do that. When my son may have been 5 years old, my mother would pick him up all the time and feed him. And I went to her once a month, and she would cook for me. So one day I went to her house, and she'd cooked red rice, which I loved. After we finished eating, we walked down the hill, and she started across the street. She said, wait a minute, baby. I was 22 years old. She said, wait a minute, baby. You know, I think you're the greatest woman I've ever met. She said, Mary McLeod Bethune, Eleanor Roosevelt, and my mother, you're in that category. Then she said, give me a kiss. I gave her a kiss, and I got onto the streetcar. I can remember the way the sun fell on the slats of the wooden seats. I sat there and I thought about her. I thought, suppose she's right. She's intelligent. And she says she's too mean to lie. So suppose I am going to be somebody. She released me. She freed me to say I may have something in me that would be of value. Maybe not just to me. You see? That's love. And when she was in her final sickness, I went out to San Francisco. And the doctor said she had three weeks to live. I asked her, would you come to North Carolina? She said yes. She had emphysema and lung cancer. I brought her to my home. She lived for 1.5 years. And when she was finally, in extremis, she was on oxygen and fighting cancer for her life. And I remembered her liberating me. And I said, I hope I'll be able to liberate her. She deserved that from me. She deserved a great daughter, and she got one. So in her last days, I said, now, I understand that some people need permission to go. As I understand it, you may have done what God put you here to do. You were a great worker. You must have been a great lover, because a lot of men, and if I'm not wrong, maybe a couple of women, risk their lives to love you. You were a piss-poor mother of small children, but you were a great, great mother of young adults. And if you need permission to go, I liberate you. I went back to my house, and something said, go back. I was in my pajamas. I jumped in my car and ran, and the nurse said, she's just gone. You see, love liberates. It doesn't bind. Love says, I love you. I love you if you're in China. I love you if you're across town. I love you if you're in Harlem. I love you. I would like to be near you. I'd like to have your arms around me. I'd like to hear your voice in my ear. But that's not possible now. So I love you. Go.
Love liberates.
Powerful.
Wow. That woman is a master teacher in so many ways.
You see?
Yes, yes, yes.
See, that's a black woman. You know,
It's a mother to us all.
that was my mother.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that was my mom.
The best of our mothers
Yeah,
are
that
Yes.
was,
represented.
Man,
Yeah.
my mother as
See?
well.
Yes.
that's exactly why I show you the hate that's out here, and then bring you home. bring you home. Yeah, and we've all experienced that kind of love energy. And that's our survival kit, because God is love. All right? That's why I say the God in me loves the God in you. And these are our creators, right? Life comes from women.
Amen.
So you go throughout all the problems on the planet, and it has something to do with how we treat our women.
You know, now that you're on that subject, it allows me to talk, when you talk about how we love our women and love. I'm one of 7. I had 6 brothers and sisters, and
Wow.
I had the opportunity, I was blessed to bury. I did the eulogy at all of my siblings' funerals. And looking at Maya Angelou, who is now an ancestor, and listening at her and feeling that love, I thought about both my mother, who died of cancer, and I thought of my sister who died of cancer. And when I arrived, because she was waiting for me to get there, she was in Phoenix, Arizona, and I came and I was with her for a little over a week before she passed, you know, day and night. Yeah. And she was waiting on her son, who was in Iraq, to come home because he had gotten the word and they had given him the furlough to come. And she was waiting on him to get there, and she was chain breathing, but holding out, you know. And finally, he came with his son, who was just born, only I think was about a month old. So I took the baby and I put the baby in her arms, and I said to her, "He's here. We are all here. You can go now." And she took her last breath. Kind of brings tears in my eyes, but at the same time, she is not dead, and our ancestors are not dead. They are with us. They just they made a transition.
That's right.
And we were talking about mentalism and the universe being mental.
Right.
It is so critical for us to understand what our ancestors have left us in terms of how the universe operates.
That's right.
It affects us in everything that we do today to one another and how we liberate ourselves. These lessons, and you were talking about the Kabbalion, which are 7 principles or laws of how the universe operates.
Hermetic philosophy.
The first one is that the universe is mental.
Right.
Critical, because the universe is mental, and we are a part of that universe. We are one with the universe. You know, if you take a deep breath, that same air that you breathe, all of us breathe it, and all living breathe it. It's just passing through. It goes through every water the same way you drink the water. It's the same water from the heavens. It just runs through you into the rivers. You're the river. You're the sun. You know, the energy in your body is the same heat from the sun. You eat the earth. So we are one with the universe. The universe is mental. And this is some heavy stuff, and I want us to take a look. Just to try to hear what I'm saying for 1 second. I want you to visualize the universe being mental. We are part of that universe. That's right. And we create in our mind.
That's right.
The mental, and that's, you know, the creator is mental. And the creator creates all things, but we are the drop of water of the ocean. So we have every element. The drop has every element that the ocean has.
Right, exactly.
We are the drop of the universe. Every element in the universe is in us. Right. Our capacity is unbelievable. We can't even imagine our capacity to bring in new worlds, to create new worlds. When I was a little boy, I used to watch Dick Tracy. He had this watch on, and he would look at this watch, and he would be there was a television, actually, and he was talking and looking and talking back. And we said, you know, this was like in the 40s. And we would say, oh, you know, that's just science fiction. That'll never happen. But today, we are beyond that. That is what was put in the mind of the children my age.
That's right.
And as they grew, they brought that world into being. Love, hate. The young man who is confused and really has a mentality of the slavers. He has, you can see it all in him. I am it, you know.
Right.
Bow down and worship me.
Right, exactly.
I want something for nothing.
Right.
You know, it's all about me.
Right.
That's what literally brought about
It's
the
demonic.
maintenance of slavery.
It's demonic.
A demonic mind. But today the world needs looking for the mind that can help create space that can bring about peace in the world. And I say that the world is waiting on the rise of the black man. Now, why did I say that? Very important for us as a people to understand that we have been called by the universe to provide leadership from the deep well of human experience. All world history is African history.
Right.
It's an African story.
Right.
It is how the Creator brought into being a people, humanity, Africa, the first man and woman, the mothers and fathers of all creation. Everybody comes from us.
Right.
So we are the factor that unites humanity. There isn't but one blood, and that's the African blood that flows through. We're the mothers and fathers of creation, the mothers and fathers of humanity. And you cannot have peace in the world if you don't respect your parents, if you don't respect your elders. Here you want to bring about peace in the world. Everybody is called to the table of nations. And yet, the mind that brought all of the foundations of human knowledge is not at the table. The mind that has ushered in, has created civilizations that knew peace, that know peace, because we created civilizations in which there was peace and harmony and justice. White man has never, he don't know peace. He don't know, you see it expressed in that young man. They don't know nothing about peace. They have never created a society that brought peace into the world. Never. They have not known it, because out of their genealogy, out of their history, from the caves and the coldness of Europe, where we went as African people, black like you and I, shaped by our environment of scarcity, of the freezing, of the cold, come out of that about 10,000 years ago, coming back into the people who still revere farming and revere the love of nature, reveal an understanding of universal principles.
Are you saying they went in the caves black and came out white?
Well, we went wherever black people went.
As we migrated away from the equator, you know, certain ethnocentric biologists will tell you, as we migrated away from the equator towards the harsher environments, that was the change in our physiology.
Lost the melanin.
Exactly, and there were also changes in our mentality as we had to deal with the harsh environment and became more belligerent, as opposed to those of us who remained within the tropical environment, which was something that was more sustainable to life, and we could then devote our attentions to higher calling. We weren't spending our days and nights battling the environment, fighting against the bears or whatever it is lived in the cold.
The notion that only the strong survive is a Eurocentric notion.
It's a battlefield.
John Wayne said years ago that if the Indians were supposed to have this land, they would have fought harder for it. That's what he said. Now, African people and people of color in the temperate zones and the tropical regions, they don't have to fight each other for space to live, for shelter.
For thousands of years, that's
When
been
it's
true.
85 degrees out, you can sleep on the ground if you have to. You can't do that in the Caucasus Mountains.
You have to fight each other for who gets into the cave.
Whoever has the fire stays warm. You got fire, I don't, I'm coming to get the fire. That belligerent attitude is part of their ethos. So you see the difference between the peoples, depending upon the regions of the world wherein they live, their relationship to one another, their relationship to the world, entirely different.
But
So-
aren't we saying that it's not a matter of color, it's about your mind?
And
Well,
the
So it doesn't
evolution of
matter
their
what
minds.
color
Your
you
mind.
are.
The way a man
if your
thinks is the way he
mind
acts.
is warped. I mean, you look at the Congo, you look at Nigeria today.
Well,
We
all
talked
right?
about that
so,
last
I
week, the
mean,
mind.
demons come in all colors now.
no,
So
that's true.
Always
no,
have.
Malcolm said in his last statement, which we ran in the beginning, he called the white man the devil in the beginning, but when he grew up, he said, man, I'll work with anybody.
Right.
Because wasn't that a black-on-black crime? Him and Farrakhan fighting? I lost respect for the Muslim religion when I found out how they treated Malcolm.
Let me go back to the Kabbalion. I think might help us out a little bit here. We look at the first principle, the principle of mentalism, which we were
Right.
just talking about. But there's the principle of coordinates. I mean,
You
opposites.
reap what you sow.
You reap what you sow. If there's up, there's down.
Right.
You know, if there's an east, there's a west.
Complementarity.
Complementarities. Right. Now, when you begin to look at the principles of you reap what you sow, the principles of rhythm and vibrations and cause and effect and all
Right.
these principles, you are trying. You study how the universe itself operates and how it's balanced, because our ancestors left for us ma'at, an understanding of the balance of how you create the fruits that can produce, how you can create the tree that produce the fruit of joy and peace and harmony coming out of that environment that had an opportunity to study the universe and give us these principles and this understanding, so that it is not you who speak, but the universe
Right.
speaking through you. So that balance, that truth becoming
Yeah.
the fundamental principle,
Right.
a guiding factor, is proof. That is what our ancestors gave us. That is what we want to begin to apply. You talk about what is happening in the Congo and how we're killing each other.
Right.
But
Or in
that
Chicago,
those-
you don't have to go far.
right here.
How about
Right
New
here,
York?
Right here. And that is the kind of demonic
Influence.
culture and influence.
It's the American way.
The
Greed, selfishness.
It's not
Right.
American.
No,
That's a
but-
global.
Right.
Okay.
That runs throughout. Nationalism has nothing to do with spirit.
Okay.
Spirit runs across the earth.
Right.
It moves through people, the demonic as well as the godly. The spirits, it's not,
We're
it's
born with
nothing national. It's part of the human experience.
That is correct.
We are constantly
human
fighting good and evil.
God and the devil.
We're constantly fighting within ourselves
Hate and love.
in terms of wanting to do this and not doing it. And like Maya said, I give you away. But she says, don't let somebody else raise you, because you know the difference between right and wrong.
That's
Okay?
it. We have been
You know the
raised
difference
knowing the
between
difference.
right and
now,
wrong.
what is happening in the Congo now is not African culture. That's not, but again, you have to look at, as Graham is saying, every man is born on his own journey.
That's it.
And in his being is the possibility for all of these entities to enter, these different spirits to enter.
it.
Because we're born, even though we're born on our own journey, we're born into a society, into a world, into a culture that has its journey. And we are connected to that and influenced by that. But we do have free will.
Amen.
And I think one of the things that's incumbent upon us as well is to understand that there are guiding principles. There are things that will bring us closer to the Creator. There are things that will bring us closer to each other, but passivity will not necessarily bring that to us.
No.
Dr. Angelo, Dr. Yosef Ben Yakanan, some of the great scholars of our time have said that if we were to take the time to study, if we were to take the time to look, to be internal in a prayerful way, we will see that there are things that we can do that would make our lives, our community, our world better. But just sitting down 8 hours a day in front of some TV with rotting your brain is not going to bring you the information, the guidance, the knowledge that you need.
But it's a matter of choice.
And we
choice
have
of what you
we have to choose to pursue some
absolutely.
knowledge that takes us forward. And there are scholars, again, like Maya Angelou. There are people who are doing, even the brothers who are here, who are sometimes reaching out to take people by the hand to bring us forward, to say there is knowledge. Come, let's go get a little bit more knowledge about who we are, where we should be. However, a great many people are reticent and lazy. Man, I don't want to learn no more. I don't want to do no more. When we are called to step up, step forward into knowledge, into enlightenment. And there are scholars, again, I would acknowledge you brothers who are here, and people like Dr. Ben and Dr. Angelo. There are scholars who are saying, come, step forward a little bit, move on, move forward.
Let me.
It's all about your personal
I don't want to
experience.
interrupt, but this is so important. I just want to bring in one of those persons that the Creator has given us to lead us, and that is Professor Gabriel Oyibo. That brother, you know, he used to give classes at my home. I've been very fortunate to have been able to document some of our great minds. And after about 2 months of him giving classes, he came and I went to the door and I looked at him and I said, you know, I know who you are, brother. And he looked at me, I say, and I say this after being with him, studying with him for about 2 months, and asking every question I could think of, and everybody else asking questions, and listening at what he had to say about the universe and the unified field theorem. I said, brother, I know who you are. He said, I said, yeah, you're the one we've been waiting on. If I, for a better term, I would say that you are the return of the Christ. You are the Messiah. You are what we need for this time. And I had the opportunity to travel with him for the next, several years. And so I had a chance to see that interrelationship everywhere we went in Nigeria. And now their primary goal or their primary purpose when we went to Nigeria was to do peer review. In other words, he had come up with the equation for the unified field theory. And again, that equation is the mathematics for cold fusion. Cold fusion is the reverse from, say, the atomic bomb, which gives you tremendous heat and explosions.
By splitting the
energy,
atom.
right. But cold fusion gives you the same energy, but without the destruction, the heat, so that you could literally get enough energy from a glass of water to run New York City for weeks.
You said that once before. Now explain that. Break that down simply so we can understand it on this level.
Okay. Now, I can give you the
But you're saying you can take a glass of water and turn it into energy through this theory.
Absolutely, yes.
There are
The
cars
same way
that
that
run
splitting
on
the
water.
atom releases
There are
incredible
cars that
amounts
run
of
on water.
energy, combining atoms can similarly release incredible amounts of energy without that destructive force around it.
Okay.
So we think about atomic energy as being wonderful. The splitting of the atom produces lots and lots and lots of energy. If we can conceive of the idea of combining of atoms, that releasing energy in the same ways, then we understand that we don't have to have the destructive force around atom splitting, but we can achieve the same goal in terms of producing energy for societal use, producing energy for scientific use. So there's a correlation there, and understanding that it is not always by destruction that things can come about, but it is, if you will, by construction that we can have things done, which is where Dr. Oyibo, when you start talking about physics, some people say, well, no, he's more of a psychologist than a physicist. But he's talking about physics, and he's talking about maybe we should be thinking beyond some of the destructive ways that we've done things in the past. So it is possible that you can produce energy in ways that are not destructive, in ways that some of it we've achieved in small scale. He dares suggest that we can do that in a whole larger scale if more people were understanding about some of the ways that are atoms and the ways that those
So
they
you didn't
interact.
mean it, all right, so we take Dr. Ebo, we put him in a room, we get all the intellectual, well, not, people with money in our circles, and just give him enough money to go in a little room and produce what he needs to produce.
No, that's not the way it's done.
Oversimplification.
Right. No, but what it is.
I mean, is that putting it too simple?
In some ways, I think, yeah.
Absolutely.
Him giving a little bit of
no,
money,
no, that's not.
could he produce?
Even though with Dr. Einstein, Professor Einstein, in the development of the atomic bomb, where you had E equals mc squared, yes, great minds and I don't know how much money, but billions were put behind developing the atomic bomb, so that even here, where you have where you had institutions working with that, the same thing has to happen with Professor Ebo.
Well,
First
that's
of
what
all,
I'm saying.
yeah, but no, you ain't putting him in a little room and giving him a little bit of money. No,
No, I said lots of money.
we as a people need to internalize what it is that he is saying and doing, and make that a part of our being. Because number one, what he's saying is that creation, the Creator has called black people to leadership, because the equation came through him.
Okay.
The Creator brought the equation to the world through him. He is a black man. We have the same genes as he. So the whole race is lifted up, just as you have the Jews who benefit as a race from the equation that Dr. Einstein brought into being, which brought about a sharing, a joint project between the U.S. government and Jewish people.
The Manhattan Project.
The Manhattan Project. And they benefit collectively through a negotiated agreement with the U.S. government and Jewish people. The same scenario can apply, or should apply, with African people who are burdened down with perception of being ignorant, of being, mentally not equal, where this equation is the highest accomplishment of humanity. This gives us the ability to change the world as we know it into a space in which peace can be brought about. The Europeans right now are this philosophy that God has created more mouths than he can feed, so it's all right to kill off a few billion of them, so that the most intelligent, who are those people who control the wealth, can survive, because they are obviously the most intelligent, because they were intelligent enough to create the weapon that kicks everybody else's butt, and that they try to rise up to keep them down. So they're saying, well, that shows that we're the most intelligent, so we should survive. So killing off 2 or 3 million so that we survive is okay. What Professor Ebo shows is that
I thought there was one race.
there is one race.
The human race.
That's true.
You're going back to an Afrocentric perception, which some would dare call primitive, which actually means the first. You're going back to an Afrocentric perception, which is the first that was here. We have evolved away from that, so that you find the peoples of Europe, the peoples of North America in many cases, have evolved away from that perception of us being one people, and that one people possessing what it takes to feed every child. You don't need for anybody to be starving. But we have evolved politically and socially away from that in Europe and the United States. One of the challenges to us and to our audience certainly is the people who would dare listen to a program like this, the people who would dare read Dr. Ben or be led by Dr. Angelo, do they dare think that we can achieve things that are disparate from what the common American philosophy is? If the common American philosophy is we got the biggest bomb, that means that we're the best people on earth. Do we dare step away from that philosophy to something that was more generic, that's more basic, that comes from our Afrocentric origins? Or do we go along with the politicians who say we got the biggest bomb, so therefore that means we're the best
Well, I
country?
think we
See, the
should
whole
go back
notion
to
of
the
race is a fallacy.
Yeah, there's one race, the human race.
Right.
Originally,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ancient people lived as clans, tribes, and nations of people. The concept of race didn't come about until the Europeans promoted that back in the,
Support
in the
slavery.
15th century.
To support
right?
slavery in many cases.
That was part of their concept to justify everything they were doing for anybody that did not look like them
Right.
or refused to become, quote unquote, a Christian.
It was easy to segregate
Right.
black
They
people.
created
you're
philosophies,
justified in eliminating, and we have done, this country has done the same thing in Vietnam by calling people gooks. They've done it in Iraq by calling these people Muslims.
Towel
Anything
heads.
other than what you are, in order to demean and little somebody, relieves you of any guilt when you subjugate them or even kill them.
They're not like
Now-
us, so we can go ahead and wipe them out.
Ancient peoples, even the Roman Empire, had great black generals. It wasn't just Italians.
Right.
They had generals in India. They took from all the groups, all the people that they conquered, they elevated people within those groups in their army. They weren't saying, well, you're not a Roman. No, you have become a Roman. You may be from Africa, you may be from India or from Asia, you're now a Roman. They didn't look upon them, as in that book you have there, Clemson, about the Negro soldiers, the troops in the Civil War,
Oh, wow.
who outperformed the quote unquote white army in many ways, and then black troops who outperformed a lot of whites during the Second World War.
369th.
So when we can get beyond this thing of race, the fallacy of race, we can, and when we can come to the point and understand that we all need each other,
Amen.
then mankind as a collective
Amen.
can move to another level. As
Amen.
long as I'm holding you back, that requires me to expel
back.
a certain amount of energy to hold you back. And I'm not progressing because I'm holding you back.
Right.
So as white people think that they can hold people down, they fail to progress, because the thing is, you need that Ben Carson. You need Dr. Ben Carson to perform the brain surgery on you, Mr. White Man, when you can't find a white person that can perform the surgery that Ben Carson can do. You need a Latimer to make a light bulb for you, Mr. Edison. All right? You need everybody in the human existence to come
Sterling.
together as a
Let's
collective.
bring up Sterling. With
before
the,
we go
the
to Sterling-
Clippers.
Oh, before-
Let me finish this point about racism from all standpoints. You bring up Sterling, and you look at this man, and this man is not human. He hasn't learned that every people are.
It's about making money. And he tried.
I mean, he's so ignorant. He thinks he can just what?
He moved past being human when it was all about
He
money.
made a statement. I mean, let me bring this point to that. Why doesn't Magic Johnson and black people get together like Jews do, pool their money together and lend it out to different people for no interest? I mean, how many Jewish organizations do you have like that? You have Madoff robbing and stealing. Yeah, you pool your numbers and we'll make money. You know what I mean? So many cons and out there, and so many greedy people
We-
that.
We ain't got that much time left, so I want to make this announcement.
There's something I want to talk about. Something. Go ahead.
Very critical. But this war is over. This racial war is over. This war between black and white is over. Black folk have won this war. This equation not only gives us the ability to create enough energy from a glass of water to run New York City for days, but it gives you the ultimate bomb. The atomic bomb is a fire. And I can sit here and say this and know what I'm saying because it has already been proven.
All right.
The Afro-Trojan bomb, which is created by the equation of Professor Ebo, is the mother of all bombs. Just like the equation is the mother of all equations. Every equation can be gotten from Gij, comma J equals 0,
When can we have
which
him
is
on the
a
show?
unified field theorem.
We'll Skype them in if you want.
Okay, I'm going to invite you to a session that we're having next Saturday.
Unified
going to
field
invite
theorem.
you.
Those who are watching, if they have the opportunity to do some research, Dr. Gabriel Oyibo online, that will prepare them for some of our discussions so they know some of what we're talking about.
We'll bring them on the next show.
It
over
may
it.
not be the next show, but we definitely
And
gonna
give us
bring
some
them
theories on how this new element of, or new theory can provide some unity amongst black people.
It provides unity among black
Did you do
people.
something in Nigeria about bringing the girls back?
We did.
He's Nigerian, right?
He's Nigerian.
Right.
Now, yes, but you know, you're talking about a
How do they
You-
treat
you
him
t-
in this country?
very well on one level, and on the other level, you can't have a discovery that changes the positioning of people in the world and not think that you are not going to have opposition.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to do great things in Nigeria. In fact, we did 18 lectures there, and you had people from literally MIT, all of the great universities around the globe to challenge him. It was peer review. And when the dust settled, only Professor Igbo was left standing. The Nigerian Senate convened and voted unanimously to create the International African Prize for Science and Technology and make Professor Igbo its maiden recipient.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for that. I helped work on bringing that into being. But what I want to say is
How
that
did they treat you as a light-skinned black coming from America?
Look,
Did they ask you how much white you had in you?
no, all of the
Save that for Valentine. Go ahead.
all of the listen.
You know what I mean?
All of the prejudice and the racism that go on
You know?
here, that go on in America. America's tentacles are around the globe.
Yeah,
They're
it's
everywhere.
insane.
So to recognize, and
You
this
see
is
how
why
Africans treat us when they come here?
This is why Professor Igbo did not get the Nobel Prize, because it means that you turn the world upside down. We're talking about intelligence, the struggle to identify for the most intelligent human to surface. That is the struggle of the race to create the equation for the unified field theory. Now, every major physicist and mathematician of any worth was trying to come up with this equation. The creator brought this equation through a black man, through Professor Oyibo, through the black. So in ways, not in ways, that clearly says that black people are more intelligent, because just like Muhammad Ali said, I'm the greatest, and then get in the room in the rain and knock everybody out that challenge. He proved he was the greatest. Same thing, we're trying to formulate the equation. Einstein tries to, so you got to put down, you have to take down Einstein, you got to put up a black man, the world turns upside down. In every respect, it turns upside down. Racism and all of this negative, not that racism is going to just disappear, but it is going to disappear because the people who matter have already concluded that Professor Oyibo's equation is correct, and it does.
Well, I
change
don't
the
think
world.
you can promote
And
this.
it changes us. And for you to understand that the Creator has not only called you, but given you the instrument of leadership. And in our history, we have the value, we have the wisdom and understanding of how to use that instrument that the Creator has put
The
in our
paradigm
hands.
shift began over a decade ago. And I want to go back to two ancestors, Maya Angelou. I was
Rest in
blessed to
peace.
have met her and talked with her on a few occasions at the African burial ground. Her humility, her tenderness, she was like a mother to everybody.
Right, exactly.
She came to our church a couple of years back for the pastor's birthday, and in the Sunday service, she came out with a water, sat down, and recited a poem. And she wished him a happy birthday. There was not a dry eye in the 4,000 seats. There wasn't a dry eye. You know, just to know that she was there, the standing ovation that she received, and after she was escorted out, the people were still standing crying. We talk about excellence, and we've only got about 2 minutes. And
Yeah, 2 minutes.
My wife's uncle died on the 15th of May,
Rest in peace.
and he was the chief operating officer of the New York Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. A powerful man
Behind the
that
scenes.
people didn't know about. But Ernesto Butcher, and I don't know if they can zoom in on, I'm just going to hold this here for a moment. Born in Panama, born poor, came to this country, bilingual, English and Spanish, graduated from Hunter College, went and taught English in Korea in the Peace Corps for 2 years, returned home. And even as a child, when he was being bused home from school, he didn't want kids to know where he lived because he was ashamed, but he was noted for his spit-shine shoes. As a child up until the day he died. And he entered an internship program with the Port Authority in 1971, retired a year ago. And a guy told him, well, Butcher, there are 14 levels to get to the top. You might make it to the 7th level. He was number 1 in the Port Authority. He was the chief operating officer and took
10
the port,
seconds,
took the port through 9/11 and reorganized the Port of Authority following 9/11. But he was memorialized this past week in Maplewood, New Jersey, a man you never heard of, but who is definitely touching the lives of many people in this city.
All right, you know what? We only have a few seconds left. But yeah, this is very interesting, gentlemen. We're going to have to do this again. We owe our audience to continue this conversation at another time. But like in the beginning, I showed you evil, and then we brought you love. But you know, I've always said to you every time I say goodbye that the God in me loves the God in you. This is exactly what I'm talking about. People like Maya Angelou, that's the human God, all right? That's the producer of life. And God is love. And so we leave you with God is love. And the God in me loves the God in you. And thank you for coming to the Gilchrist Experience. God bless.